Here's a clip. Here's a clip I found today. Listen to this, guys.
We've spoken.
Well, I guess I should plug it in, or Logan? I don't know. Let me just put my microphone down there. Here we go.
Tucker Carlson a lot in previous episodes, and
making some noise.
Yeah, you know what? I think he's an important person. We've got to follow him. Umar ibn Khattab. Now today, we know media is a powerful place, man. Right? If you win the media war, media.
Yeah.
Right? As in, if we took a victory from this, if there's anything for us to say we did this time with Allah's precious tawfiq, it's media.
Yeah.
I'm saying this guy is, in my opinion, the strongest guy in the media right now.
I mean, yeah, his millions of views. Anytime he posts anything, I always monitor. Like, it's just the views are
It's not
crazy.
just that. This guy has got very strong footing and following, and he's got voice
in the right wing
in the USA,
yeah.
in the UK, and
Wow. So the Muslims want you to follow Tucker Carlson. That pretty much tells you everything. A man is known by his friends. Aaron Lavarco, on the ground in Israel, lighttothenationsministry.com. We make regular love offerings to him so he can be our reporter, our eyes and our ears on the ground. Worldviewfoundation.com. We do need your support, folks. We are a listener-supported network. Worldviewfoundation.com. May God save America and protect Israel. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan, and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
President Trump has done something historic. Let's recognize that, regardless of partisan and politics of that kind. As a matter of national security, let's recognize what President Trump has done.
That this is the very moment they've been waiting for 47 years. We're shown photos of the people that were allegedly killed by the regime. There were people here holding those photos and saying that this day is for them. President Trump being thanked by name here in this crowd. But some people are even Democratic voters who are praising the president.
Trump is not just saving America. President Trump is saving the world. The people of Iran are so grateful that President Trump is finally the one who helped us out. After the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, the Bidens, nobody even cared for the Iranian people as much as President Trump.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yep, that was propaganda unabashedly. I let the closing screen stay up there on purpose because I want people to know how Iranians, those were Iranians, across the spectrum feel about what's going on. So good afternoon and welcome to Truth Thursday on the Rob Maness Show. And that's a little truth. Elections, diplomacy, and peace. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. And today we are covering several developing stories with national and international implications. We're going to start with recent expressions of gratitude, like you just saw, towards President Trump from the Iranians around the world who see his policies as a turning point after decades of tyrannical Islamic regime oppression. They're Nazis, just as bad as Nazi Germany, people. This is in the context of ongoing operations that we are really glad to see. These operations are against Iran's missile and naval capabilities. Those are the objectives, as expressed by the Secretary of War. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, came online. Same exact message. and he's addressed the status of U.S. actions against Iran, stating the mission to neutralize short-range ballistic missiles and naval threats. That's what it is, including risks to shipping in the Straits of Hormuz, is proceeding on or ahead of schedule. Following years of buildup, not just years, decades of buildup under prior U.S. administrations. On the economic side, Treasury actions under Scott Bessent are under maximum pressure sanctions on Iran. They've significantly impacted Iran, but there are some economic implications to the operation that we want to talk about with our guest today. But Iran's funding sources are being slammed, and amongst other things that are happening to her allies like China. U.S. energy dominance and domestic economic positioning is going very, very well. Finally, the first 2026 midterm primaries took place this week in Texas and North Carolina. In Texas, Proposition 10, banning Sharia law, received over 95% of voter support, while the Republican Senate primary heads to a May runoff between incumbent Senator John Cornyn and Attorney General Ken Paxton. And State Rep James Tallarico won the Democratic nomination against, you know her, Jasmine Crockett. Yes, the wacko had to be beaten by a state representative. And in North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper secured the Democrat nominee, and former GOP Chairman Michael Whatley, endorsed by President Trump, of course, secured the GOP nominee handily. Well, to break all this down, elections, Iran developments, NATO burden sharing, peace prospects, and the economy, we're joined again by veteran TV news producer and Substack host at The Analyst and host of a news show on WABC Radio, Jake Novak. Jake, welcome back. And the name of your show is News Hour Weekend Edition, right?
That's right. That's right. Thanks for having me. It's coming fast and furious, but this is what we live for. To not only live and see these kinds of amazing things happening, but being able to have. So it's so great. People like us can actually explain it to the American people and not give that monopoly anymore to the mainstream media, because they don't know what they're talking about. They just don't.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for having me on your shows. And you had me on the Stone Zone last night. You were standing in for our friend Roger Stone on WABC Radio. I want to thank you for letting me come on and talk about the technical details of an air campaign, a naval campaign, the strategy, and the methodology behind it. Because I don't. Obviously, from some of the stuff you see on social media, most folks don't really understand that, so I appreciate that. And I wanted to get you on today to talk about the diplomatic, political, and economic pieces to go along with the technical military type stuff that's going on with this operation. I want to start there. So those pictures in that video, the reason I showed the video wasn't because it was from the White House. It was because I'm pretty sure those were from around the world. So Iranians in exile and Iranians in the streets inside Iran, I believe, are represented in those pictures. And it doesn't matter amongst the Iranians where they're at on the spectrum. They could be Shah backers, the MEK, or Kurds. I think they're all on the same page that the United States is and Israel are right now, aren't they? From a political perspective, am I correct in that?
Yeah, this is not like Iraq, which, sure, I mean, I guess that by the time the Iraq War started, the Second Persian Gulf War, most Iraqis did want to see Saddam Hussein overthrown, but it was a close one. It was a balkanized country, to say the least. Iran does have different ethnicities going on in there. It's not like a completely uniform culture and ethnicity thing going on, but they are much more unified in the desire to overthrow this regime, and the chances of there being long-term terrorist anti-American cells existing in Iran once, let's say, American civilians start going there and maybe some Persian Americans return, I think that's very low. We're not going to see that. I'm not saying there won't be any incidents, but the idea that there's a significant segments of the population that aren't going to be happy at these developments, I don't think you're going to see that, Colonel. That's certainly for true. And that's why you see so many Persians around the world celebrating this, because they've long wanted to return to their homes. Some of them were separated from families. I went to junior high with the boy who got out with his mother and his brothers but he never saw his father again. His father didn't get out. So I know what that's like. I really do. Out of Iran, I mean.
Yeah, the folks that I have been talking to for several years now that are part of the groups that are the NCRI, I met the first person. He's a young guy, not young anymore, but he's middle-aged now at this point. But his dad was one of the people executed by the mullahs when they. I mean, I think they executed over 20,000 people in one whack early on, and his dad was one of those people, and that's why he's part of this effort, even though he's never even lived inside the country. He's dedicated to this effort to turn it into some kind of democracy that everybody inside the country can, and those that want to go back to it, can agree on. And I think that's the way things have to happen, right? I mean, there's no way the United States, and folks, there's no evidence whatsoever that even one tank tread or one boot has moved towards even getting on ships that would be needed in the numbers to take them overseas to do a ground invasion here. I mean, think about it. In Desert Storm, we spent 6 months during Desert Shield building up over 170,000 soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marine ground troops. That's just the ground troops, not counting the armor and all the aviation stuff and everything. So I think we had over 500,000 people over there. We haven't come even close to that. And that's because we know that it's got to come from the people on the ground inside, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the most interesting developments of the last 24 hours is there's growing video and other evidence telling us that the remaining regime killers in Iran are using mosques and schools not only as bases but as shooting points, as vantage points for sniper attacks on the civilians. And that just goes to show that this is something that they know. Once the civilians go out into the streets, that's it. They're not expecting American troops or large foreign infantry into their country. They're hoping for not seeing the large amount of people in Iran who know how to do it. They were just doing it in massive protests just a couple of months ago, but they need to feel safe. And I think that this is a signal to the U.S. and the Israelis. Absolutely, do not take mosques and schools off your list of targets, especially maybe in the wee hours of the night when people aren't going to be in those places anyway, other than the bad guys. And maybe the Iranian people probably have been told, hey, don't go to mosques and schools for the next few days, at least, because that's where the bad guys are hiding out. We don't want to kill you. We need to get those targets on the list, Colonel.
Yeah, and for the folks that don't understand the laws of armed conflict, if you use a building that is designated a mosque, is on a prohibited target list, or a school or a hospital, all of those are what are considered prohibited targets under the laws of armed conflict that we follow really religiously. We do, and so do the Israeli forces. But when they start being used for military purposes, those facilities become legitimate military targets.
It's a double war crime.
It's a double war crime. We will strike them, and the people doing it are committing war crimes. That's exactly right. And they're doing it in public. I've looked at a couple of snapshots that I've seen and seen the metadata, and the metadata confirmed what the pictures were showing. So they are actually doing it. And I'm not surprised, are you? I mean, Hamas does it. The Hezbollah guys do it. That's why the Israeli armed forces are always getting blamed for attacking churches, schools, and hospitals, because they're using them as military facilities and they're legitimate targets. So that's the way that works.
Authority does that. Yeah, even the Palestinian Authority does that. Yeah. You know, in some of the churches, the holiest churches for Christendom in Israel, like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and that has been used as a weapons cache for Palestinian Authority terrorists for a long time. Not Hamas. It's been used by all kinds of, and that's why there are so few Palestinian Christians left in the West Bank. There's none left in Gaza because they've used their churches in addition to their own mosques as weapons caches, and that is a double war crime. If you use a mosque or a hospital or a school as a place to hide out as a militant, that's a war crime. And if you use those places to fire on civilian targets, that's a double war crime, and that has been the MO of Hamas for a long time. Their sponsors in Iran now doing it too.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're the ones that trained them how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, it's just going back to its roots. So they're despicable. They're despicable people. They do not deserve to be treated as legitimate combatants. I consider them war criminals, and we should treat them the way we did Nazi Germany. And if systematically destroy their stuff and themselves and their units until they walk out and unconditionally surrender. Politically, another good sign, I keep telling folks, and I mentioned this last night, that one of the good signs of effectiveness of this operation is the crushing defeat of their command and control and communication system. And I saw just before I came on that the president, I think it's the president of Azerbaijan, posted something because they got attacked by the Iranians right after he had agreed on their behalf to get their people evacuated out of Lebanon and wasn't even going to charge them. There is a major set of shifting going on politically in the Middle East right now, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of countries in the Middle East and all over the world have tried to play a little bit of a dance with Iran for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of know they're not good, but maybe they can get something out of it. Listen, France does that. And they've been doing that for years. So why wouldn't another Muslim country try to do that? You get what they're trying to do. And they're realizing now that has come to an end. I mean, we can sort of play the game of, well, they should never have gotten involved with them in the first place, but that's backward looking. We know that sadly they made the wrong decision back then. So it's just more important to just say that kind of relationship is now impossible. They won't be able to continue to do this now that there are there's physical evidence and people dead in these countries. So it's over. We can say that, and that to me is more dramatic than saying, well, you shouldn't have done that. I mean, we'll do the I told you so's later. We've been doing them for 47 years. I don't really need to do it again. I'd rather make it clear that this relationship now is over. You cannot continue with this. You probably get it more than I do now, but I'm telling you again, and I'm telling the rest of the world, stop with this dance. The party's over.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to take a break, Jake. When we come back, I got a little clip from Secretary Rubio. This guy really gets it, folks. And I've not always been a big fan of Senator Rubio, but this Secretary of State is really stepped up performance a notch and is America first right now. We'll be right back with Jake Novak.
Yes.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran, and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked.
Okay. No, were you the one that? Because somebody asked me a question yesterday. Did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that follow up, and I said no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday. There's a little truth being delivered by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and he's addressing the little snippers out there, the snipers, the verbal snipers and everything that are going, you're just doing this because of Israel. They wanted you to do it. I mean, it spans the spectrum, the silliness coming out of people's brains. And some of these people are people that I know, and they're thinking people, but they've been lost in a narrative of propaganda that's been used against them. And I'm telling you, behind it is Iranians, Chinese, probably some Russians, probably some Venezuelans, some Cubans. That entire propaganda set and that narrative is being used against you, folks. This president makes his own decisions. And my guest today is Jake Novak, host of the new news show on the weekend there at WABC Radio in New York City. And of course, a good friend of our show, and I'm making him a regular here as long as I can get away with it because I enjoy having him on, and he's one of the best analysts I've ever met. Jake, that's just the tip of the iceberg from the diplomatic and political change, that's the shifting of the earth under people's feet. It's happening to even you and I. We have to really be guarding against that and look very carefully at what we're seeing, what we're hearing, and the conclusions we're coming to about that, because the earth is literally shifting under U.S. diplomacy and foreign policy, and I think for the better.
I think so, too. Iran has been behind so much of our problems, not just with terrorism. They are the #1 sponsors of terrorism all over the world. But our news media, some of these talking points, some of this crazy cockamamie stuff is because of Iranian money going through Qatar and the bullet points. I used to get them when I was at CNN. I used to get that bullet point email every day from CARE telling everyone what to say. And some of those bullet points are actually followed. Qatar couldn't have done that without trying to play some game with Iran. And what we were just talking about before the break. I mean, if Qatar doesn't wake up to the fact now that they can no longer do this little dance with Iran and the United States at the same time, I don't know what's going to wake them up. I would assume that they realize it's over now. And again, I tell you what, I'll make them a deal. I won't say I told you so anymore if you just stop the relationship now, which you really need to do. But, you know, this is something I want to. Sometimes people say, oh, Jake, you're Jewish. You did some work for a brief time at the Israeli consulate. You just must be all crazy about Israel all the time, and you don't want to hear any criticism. That's not true. I could do many shows on critiquing what's going on in Israeli society, starting with the education system, which disappoints me. Mm-hmm. But what I want to say is this. It is legitimate to say the following. Hey, Israel's our friend, but they got some sick, bad enemies out there. And if we sit with Israel, we need to figure out how far and how much of exposure to the United States that's going to cost us, and whether they win, if we take the pros and the cons, whether remaining friends with Israel outweighs that. In addition to the fact that there's a morality issue here. Do we give in to the bullies who hate Israel and are Islamo-fascists, even though it may cost us a little or not? That's a fair argument to have. And maybe you need to say, sometimes we need to step back and not be on the line with them with every little thing they do. To me, that's a very legitimate argument. I'd be willing to have it. But what so many people are trying to do now is create false narratives that Israel told Trump, we got to do this, as if there hadn't been a 47-year war on America by Iran. And as if this hadn't been something that had been. You said you war gamed this back when you were a captain. I don't want to give away your age, but that wasn't yesterday, Colonel. So, I mean, come on. That's true. This is so silly. This is so silly. This is not what's going. Iran has been a mortal enemy of the United States even before they did anything to Israel. They did stuff to the United States. Okay, so let's just stop this nonsense. If you want to say that this wasn't a good gamble to make, that's fair to say. But please stay within the realm of reality, please.
That's why I keep bringing up the ground force movement and the numbers you would be needing to see of not just people but armor, tanks, armored personnel carriers. I mean, it's massive. What would happen? What would need to happen? Think about the Desert Shield operation to deploy those forces in. That was just to take Kuwait. Iran is huge with terrain from sea level, deserts to high mountainous terrain. And the target set is tremendously large. It would take many, many more people than the 500,000 that we deployed for Desert Storm to take that country. It's just not happening. The facts don't support those arguments. They also don't support the arguments that Israel is telling this president of the United States what to do. It's ridiculous on its face. And of course, I am not happy with the way the Israeli Defense Forces weren't ready for October 7th. I've never heard any really good answers to that. And I think the government of Prime Minister Netanyahu needs to get on the ball because we're their allies, and their lack of readiness has a lot to do with how bad it tended to be. I mean, you may not have been able to stop the attack, but you surely, the folks over there surely would have, many more would have survived had readiness been where it needed to be. And, so I've criticized the government of Israel many times from those types of perspectives. So when we see our Secretary of State who's engaging like that, and now the alliance with Israel, that's solid, that's obvious. We're in an allied effort, but now the Gulf Arab states like Turkey have been struck by the Iranians. All of those areas have been struck. Even Cyprus, I think, took a round the other day. And Qatar's been struck outside of the big military air base at Al Udeid. That was struck, but they've had targets on their military and their civilians been hit too. So now it's more than just an Israel and American allied operation, because a lot of these countries are weighing in and saying, hey, you are not going to go unpunished for this. How do you see that changing the ground from a diplomatic and a political perspective for the future? Does it give us hope for the future? Should we be wary of this shift? Because it's kind of like they've always been there for us, but they've always played that game, like you mentioned before. How is that going to change for the better, if it's possible, now that they're openly confronting the Iranians?
Well, I think it gives us clarity. For 1,400 years or so, it was pretty easy to figure out what side you wanted to be on in the Muslim world. The Sunnis or the Shia. They've been having a civil war since Muhammad died about 1,400 years or so ago, give or take a few decades. Oh. And what was going on for the last 30 years is a strange development where the Shiites in Iran started to cultivate Sunnis, whether it was Hamas, whether it was people in Qatar, whether it was some other countries like that, even the Turks, to try to get them on their side, even though they were on opposite sides of this long civil war. And it seemed like some Sunni groups were willing to cross over and, if not completely start to support the Shia side in that civil war, at least say, well, we'll work with them for a while, and maybe we'll be able to extricate ourselves later. And it made things difficult to figure out on whose side. I mean, I still don't know if ISIS had anything to do with Iran. It's hard to tell, by the way. ISIS is a Sunni movement. So it created 30 years worth of an increasing amount of fogginess. Whose side is everyone on? We can't just do Sunni Shia anymore. This isn't like Russia and China, Soviet Union and China in 1972. I can't. It's hard to keep. I need a scorecard. So we're going to get some clarity now. I think this will get everyone back to their traditional Sunni and Shia corners of the ring. And we're going to be able to tell everyone, we'll be able to deal with the Sunnis in one way and the Iranians in another. Before Barack Obama became president, there was still a hope. I remember I sat in a private session with Charles Krauthammer in 2006 or 7, where he said that the next president who gets elected in 2008 needs to treat the Iranians and the rest of the Sunni, and then the Sunni world, like President Nixon did, setting off China and Soviet Union against each other and finding a third sort of wedge there. I think we can go back to that now. But the thing is, without Iran being a major player, I really don't think that believe it or not, the Muslim world and the Arab region and the Middle East in general, the Iranians are not Arabs, I really don't think that's going to be even a player anymore. I think we'll be able to pivot to China now and look at at them as a major threat, and they are the biggest power against us right now, and work with and decide how that's going to work, because Iran was just clouding everything, Colonel. And I think that the clouds are going to get cleared away, and we'll have some clarity now.
Do you think that look, there's the Iranian people and Israelis for thousands of years have had a special friendship, right? I don't think a lot of people understand that. Do you think? I know they're a majority Muslim country, I believe, on the Shiite side. But do you think the Persian face of the Iranian people will show more, especially in the relationship with the state of Israel?
You know, the Islamic ethnicity of the Iranian people has also been a little bit murky. There was a mass forced conversion incident in Iran in the middle of the 19th century. And there's a lot of Iranian Muslims who quietly remembered in their family, secretly said, you know, we're really Jewish, we're really Zoroastrian. And they kept that. And by the way, the same thing happened in Europe with the Inquisition. many generations of Jews living in secret in places like Spain and Portugal and places like that, even in Italy. So that's actually good news. It's good news because you don't have, this is not an entrenched Islamic culture for a millennium or more. It's not. They don't really have, they have a lot of other ethnicities going on in there. But unlike Iraq, it isn't balkanized where they're literally all killing each other and looking for dominance in et cetera, et cetera. So I think that we're in an interesting situation where, yes, we can, this is a group of people we can, I mean, by the way, I even think that radical, or not radical, but entrenched Islamic, generational Islamic countries can also come to terms with non-Muslims. It's really only the Muslim Brotherhood, which gained traction at the end of the 19th century, that promoted this genocidal policy against all non-Muslims. Yes, they wanted to subjugate us, but they weren't sending us off to death until the Muslim Brotherhood took hold. So honestly, I'm much more optimistic about that. If you go to Dubai now as an Israeli or as an overt Jew, they love you. They treat you, and it's not phony. It's not fake. And by the way, the more traditional you are, the more they like you because there's so many similarities in daily religious practice. So I'm optimistic about that. I really am, with a very, very practical understanding that there's still going to be a lot of people out there who are going to want to kill us. And by that I mean Americans and Israelis. But you know, I really think that's much. This is not like going into Yemen or going into some of these parts of Iraq. This is a much better situation.
Yeah. I want to talk in the next segment about the Abraham Accords and the economics of this whole situation, and maybe get you to talk a little bit about the Wahhabi sect inside Saudi Arabia and the challenges that they've had over the years, and maybe this can address some of that. We got to take a break, Jake. We'll be right back, and we'll take the question from the audience in the next segment. We'll be right back with Jake Novak on the Rob Maness Show.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
Last March, President Trump gave the order for Treasury to exert a maximum pressure campaign on Iran. I said at a speech at the Economic Club of New York in March that I predicted that the Iranian currency would collapse, that we would see the economy collapse thanks to this maximum pressure. So we have been softening up the economy and preparing the ground for what our great warriors are doing right now. So the Iranian economy was vulnerable. We cut off the dollar supply into Iran. All of their oil is sanctioned. We've been able to keep the funds, many of the funds out of Iran. One of the largest banks collapsed in December. The central bank was forced to print a huge amount of money. Inflation ensued, and people took to the streets. So there was an economic crash in Iran in December, and now we have the opening to go in, and our military is taking over from the sky and from the sea.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. The economic concerns about the war with Iran and what the United States and Israel and our Arab allies in the region now are in a combined operation to remove the Iranian regime and reinstate it as whatever sort of democracy their people want to set up. So that they can become free again. And we are removing systematically their ballistic missile capability, their drone capability, their naval capability. I think most of their ships, except for maybe one or two, are at the bottom of an ocean, one way or the other. The first U.S. submarine attack with a torpedo on an Iranian ship occurred in the last 36 hours successfully and sunk a ship that was off Sri Lanka only 1,100 miles from where? Diego Garcia. But the economic consequences have a lot of concern, and there's a lot going on. And my guest is Jake Novak out of New York's WABC Radio. He's got a new weekend news show. You got to go check it out there. And he is a regular on the Rob Maness Show, and for good reason, because of his analyst capability and everything he knows and all of his contacts. Jake, let's talk about the economy piece of this, but let me take a question from the audience real quick before we get too far into this. Go ahead, Shell.
We have Matt, sir.
Hey, so Jake, I'm kind of interested to know, because it actually goes back to the previous two segments. When the attack on, not the attack, but when the strike on the U.S.-Israeli strike happened on Iran, you had all these Arab countries come out and say in support of it. Now, is that because they had to, or did they want to come out against Iran the whole time and couldn't do it because it would be politically damaging to them? And is that therefore a paradigm shift that we're watching in the Middle East because of this strike?
Only because the covers have been taken off. The veil has been removed. They've been lobbying for it. The Washington Post, in a rare good piece by them on Saturday or Sunday, it was, with multiple sourcing, something they don't do when they report on President Trump. Multiple sourcing said that Mohammed bin Salman, the effective leader of Saudi Arabia, has been the crown prince for more than 10 years now, was repeatedly lobbying over the last month with several phone calls to President Trump, begging him to carry out this attack for two reasons. Saudi Arabia is existentially threatened by Iran because that's the main event. That's the main event in the Sunni-Shia civil war I was just talking about. The Shia are very, very infuriated for more than a millennium that the holy sites of Islam, Mecca and Medina, are in Sunni hands in Saudi Arabia. They would like to take over that. That's an overt threat for many, many years. Second of all, the Saudis are liking this $81 a barrel oil, even if it only lasts a couple more weeks. That can help the Saudis quite a bit. And they knew that oil prices would go up if this attack went on. I'm not saying that's why primarily they wanted this, but it's been a gift to Saudi Arabia in a big way. And again, compared to where we were under Biden, we are really low on oil prices. We were in the 120s during a lot of the Biden presidency, which is 50% higher than where we are right now, and a third lower from where, you know your math. So that's how that works. But these countries for a long time have figured that the best defense against Iran is to pretend that they're sometimes their friend, and Qatar being the biggest example of that. Even Saudi Arabia sometimes says nice things about Iran, or at least did. And like I said, this should now give us the clarity. That duplicity should be over with now. We should have complete clarity from these countries that have long thought that they don't like Iran, that they're afraid of them, that they had to say nice things about it sometimes in the hopes of that being some form of defense. They should no longer have to do that anymore. They've always wanted this regime to fall. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a huge strategic error for Iran to put those last stand orders and those particular targets that they've been shooting at in place. I mean, they're even having to call some of these folks and say, "Hey, that wasn't us." Yeah, but it really is you guys. So let's talk about oil and the Straits of Hormuz, and let's talk about ships and insurance and China and Russia from an economic perspective. And we'll dive into some domestic stuff in the next segment when we're talking about the elections. But let's talk about that. Iran's folks say they are closing the Straits of Hormuz, but then there's conflicting reports because a deputy commander of something came out just a little bit ago on the Iranian side and said, no, we have not closed the Straits of Hormuz. We apply international law, and that's how we operate, etc. Although in northern Persian Gulf, they just sent an unmanned suicide boat after an oil tanker, I think it was, or some kind of merchant ship, and it's on fire up there. But in the Straits of Hormuz, they backed off of this. Is that because of their buddy China getting about 18% or so of its oil from Iran?
Yeah, China earlier today, by the way, suspended told all of its oil refineries no more exports. They need to keep everything that they're refining in country. And when they export, that means they're exporting to some of their close allies, the North Korea and stuff like. They don't want to. So sound familiar? That's kind of like the Venezuela-Cuba situation, right? So yeah, China doesn't want to see this go on much longer. and that's very helpful for the United States right now to get this thing over with quicker. And they certainly don't want to see a major spike in oil prices right now. We've had the spike. We were at $59 a barrel. I believe it was the end of January. So, from 59 to 81 is a significant jump, but it's not, again, it's still way down from where we were just 3 years ago. In fact, the day before the October 7th attacks, October 6th, 2023, we were at $90 a barrel oil, which is still 10% higher than where we are right now. So just keep that in perspective. But yeah, this has a lot to do with that. China is losing, if Iran is falling the way we think it is, China's losing one of their bullies, but not someone that they care about. The idea that the Chinese are going to come help you. And by the way, hopefully that's another big lesson, Colonel, of all of this. If all the client states of China right now are watching, and they should be, well, here's what you can expect if you ever get attacked by the United States or Israel or a country like that. You're expecting China to back you up. Don't, because they won't. They don't care about you. They really don't. Yeah. You're just a bully. You're human cannon fodder, just like Hamas was using civilians, the same thing. And they don't care about you. And I think that that's a really good lesson. Everyone should look at this. Think that China's going to save Iran's skin? Think again.
Yeah, I agree. Now, one of the biggest stories that nobody's covering, and I'm going to cover it, I think you might have covered it a little bit already too, is the ship war risk insurance issue that's going on. In the past, the Iranians have like said, we're closing the Straits of Hormuz down, and then they hit a ship or two with something, and the war risk insurance prices go through the roof, and it slows traffic down. Well, this time, Lloyd's of London, crappy British friends that they are, withdrew the war risk insurance, and the president of the United States made a precedent-setting and a historical decision that he announced, and he is directing us to essentially shore up the war risk insurance for shipping in the Persian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz. That's an unusual move, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And that's what I think. Listen, we can use some of the obvious responses to this, which I don't think are useless. I think it's good to mention. You've got a president who has a business experience and understands that you shouldn't, that business is going to get disrupted, and he understands that frustration, and he wants to make sure that that is stopped. And so he understands that, and that's important. I don't think that you would have had that even from other Republican presidents. The Bush president, both Bush Sr. and Jr., they certainly understood the oil business. But beyond that, I don't think that they were very business savvy. They really weren't. Had they been, they would have done more than just blanket tax cuts. We have a lot of 4D chess kind of economic policies coming out of this administration that are clearly the work or the inspired by someone who played a lot of games with financing and debt and things like that to get what he wants, and knowing that it isn't just a straight transaction all the time. But yes, to me, this is unprecedented that we would have this kind of, they really want this to be as clean a war as possible. I'm sure you heard a lot of when you were in the military, you probably heard a lot of cliches. There's no such thing as a clear war, son. And that's all true. And we've had casualties, so it hasn't been a pristine thing. I get that. But I think that there's a real attempt here by the Trump administration and our military to make this as clean as possible. During Desert Storm, the focus was on getting some kind of political consensus around it. And the Bush administration, at least at first, was very successful with that. They really got most of the American people and even the Democrats to support it. But had they only used that effort and focused on a clean operation of the actual war, that would have been a better use of their time. I'd much rather have the Democrats screaming and certain enemies of America screaming about this, and we have fewer casualties and the war has clearer objectives and we get out of there quicker than having the political support. I'm sure you agree.
Oh, absolutely. Look, they were so good at that. We fought alongside Syrian soldiers in the ground offensive. I mean, that's pretty incredible. If you don't know anything about it, and most of you people that were born too late don't know anything about it other than what you've seen on social media, go study that. It was a pretty good operation, diplomatically, militarily, and I think Bush, for one, he made the right decision to stop at Kuwait and restore that as a country. But we made some really bad decisions follow on that destroyed our relationship with what was left of Iraq that could have prevented a lot of what we may even be seeing today. Well, so from an economic perspective, what are the what are the global markets doing? Are you watching? I know you're watching those kind of things. What are you seeing?
Yeah. We're getting sell-offs. This is because of oil. A spike in the price of oil it creates new inflation worries. It makes the cost of doing business a lot higher. But the markets are very ephemeral. They're going to bounce back very quickly if the war not only wraps up, but even before the war wraps up. If we see solid evidence that the supply of oil is still flowing pretty well, you're going to start seeing the markets come back. It's as simple as that. But you don't want to see spikes in the price of oil. It's one of the most essential commodities, if not the most essential commodity out there besides water and oxygen. So we need those things. But look, it's not going to be easy. But the same people who during the Gulf War were saying things like, well, why did President Bush say go shopping? How come he didn't tell people to stop driving SUVs? Where's the sacrifice? Well, here it is. Gas prices are a little bit higher. Not so much in my neighborhood, but they'll be back over $3 probably in a couple of days, but way down from the $4 and $5 we saw before. If that's all I have to sacrifice for 4 or 5 weeks, it's going to be pretty hard to say there was a terrible hardship incurred on the on the American people.
Well, how about the U.S. stock market? What are those markets doing, and how are these weapons producers doing?
Well, there's a lot of plays. So the general defense contractors are doing pretty well, but they're doing small gains. A 1% gain for a major stock is not nothing in one day. But we're seeing something like that. But boy, one of the big stocks to play now. There's been talk for years in Israel about bringing into an IPO IAA, Israel Aerospace Industries, which is really behind a lot of that technology. It's been delayed now 5 years. But there's another stock you can play. It's called Elbit Systems. They make a lot of the software. They do make some equipment. They do make some equipment as well. Elbit Systems has tripled its value just since a year or so ago. It's up something like 20% over the last 5 days. People are seeing a free commercial for this tech right now, and it's clearly working well. But there aren't a lot of major plays here. Listen, I've been telling people to invest in the major defense contractors for 11 years. and if you listened to me, you would have made a lot of money. I told people in 2015, Lockheed Martin, and I know you don't like the price of the F-35, and we don't like all the bureaucratic issues there, but it's the ultimate weapon in the universe. Sorry, it just is.
Oh,
it just is.
It is.
And the Israelis made it even better. And the day I wrote that article, Lockheed Martin shares closed at about 210. They opened at 670 yesterday. Okay, so maybe you should listen to me. So I've been saying that about. Honestly, these companies are worth investing in.
We've ramped weapons production up, contrary to what the naysayers are saying out there. We're not running out of stealthy or highly accurate precision-guided weapons. We're not even having to use them now because we're just using JDAMs, which are a precision bomb. It's a gravity bomb with a kit strapped on it, and we ramped up production of those years and years ago so that we would have adequate supplies. When we were hearing commanders like me saying, "Hey, if you're running out of war reserve supply inventories, you need to rebuild them." And I think the first Trump administration started doing that. And when they came in this time, they ramped up production again. And that production's going very well from what I understand. And I wish I'd have bought these stocks when you said it.
Yeah, one thing I'll add real quickly, though, but don't forget, the major force and driver in the U.S. stock markets right now, ever since early last year, has been the AI trade. And there's been a lot of phony reporting about the stock market ever since April. They blamed the stock market drop in April on tariffs. It wasn't that. It was AI. And when the AI fear ended, there was a massive rally back and forth. And AI is dominating really the trade on the street every single day. Yes, the oil price is spiking is the biggest reason today for some of the sell-offs. But this is about AI because Wall Street hasn't figured it out yet. They clearly haven't figured it out. Once they figure things out, they make money on it, whether it's good news or bad news. They haven't figured out quite yet about AI. So just be wary of that. When you hear someone going on TV tonight saying, this war is causing a huge sell-off, it's not true. It's AI that's really the big driver in this market, and it will be for some time.
That's a good point. We got to take our last break. When we come back, I want to talk about the election outcomes in Texas, North Carolina, Arkansas, and also the economy inside the U.S. and what this situation is telling us. We'll be right back with Jake Novak.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
This morning, the results of the 2026 primaries in Texas, North Carolina, and Arkansas pouring in as the GOP hopes to hold their House and Senate majorities in the midterm elections. Angela Brown at the live desk with the latest for us right now. And so, Angela, now we got this whole setup in Texas, a runoff, for the Senate seat there. North Carolina, meantime, that Senate race taking shape between the former governor and the former RNC chair. There's going to be a lot of money that's going to be spent this year.
I think they even set some records in Texas. I could be wrong when it comes to the primary.
I think you're right. I think you're right. They spent a lot of money.
They did spend a lot of money on both sides. And these
Yes.
races, Jan, could really determine the balance of power in D.C. Both these races, Texas, North Carolina, they could be tight when all is said and done because you have some big name candidates in these races. Let's start in North Carolina, where Republican Michael Whatley and Democrat Roy Cooper won their primary races for Senate. The two will face off in the general election, of course, in November. Whatley brings some firepower. He's bringing President Donald Trump to the table, who supports him, while Cooper is a household name in the Tar Heel State, having served there as governor.
Tonight is not the end of a campaign. Tonight is the beginning of a movement.
I'm running because I love North Carolina, and things just should not be this hard for the people who live here.
And over in Texas, the Republicans will have to wait a little bit longer to see who will advance in the Senate general election. Neither incumbent Senator John Cornyn or AG Ken Paxton, you see right back here, got over 50% of the vote. That means they're going to have to do a runoff. It sets that up. Neither candidate has been endorsed by President Trump yet, so we're watching for that. Wesley Hunt, who was a third candidate in the race, took home some of that vote too, kind of setting the stage for this runoff. On the Democrat side, it would be State Representative James Tallarico who took home the win. You see him right back here, beating U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett. Now, Tallarico will now try to do something that has not been done in Texas for decades, flip a Senate seat blue. The last time that happened in Texas, it was back in 1988. So we're talking about a lot of time here. You can find more election results for the races around the country online at thenationaldesk.com.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday. We're going around the horn talking about world events and domestic events with Jake Novak, my guest today, who's got a great weekend show on WABC Radio. Go check it out. And he's on this show. We've had him on for about once a week here for several weeks. I'm hoping to keep up that level of operation with this guy because he is a sharp analyst and a good friend, and he likes to do what? Tell the truth, because he's a person in the media that works hard and tells the truth, and that's what's important instead of these lying people. Now, I found a good clip there that was pretty good, but they left Proposition 10 out of there, which got 95% of the vote. There were almost 2 million votes cast, I think, on the Republican primary side or something like that. And it got 92% of the vote, and Prop 10 bans Sharia law. So it puts that initiative on the general election ballot. They left that part out. That's another way the mainstream media doesn't tell the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm surprised that the Democrats nationally haven't seized on this more and tried to. I mean, I know they have when they do talk about it, but they haven't tried to talk about it a lot, which is depict this proposition as racist and bigoted, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, it isn't. It's talking about taking over municipal law from a religious standpoint, something that pretty much the rest of the religious world has decided to give up on. Christianity did about 500 years ago. Jews did about 2,000 years ago. The understanding that plurality is possible, that we can live with people. If a governor happens to be a different religion than mine or mayor, we can do that. And there is just that has not yet been accepted in most of the Muslim world yet. It's starting to
Right.
get accepted in places like Indonesia where they're talking about it. They don't actually live it, but it's still a radical idea that's not been accepted by Muslims. They don't have leadership telling them, hey, go move to Texas, go live in those places. That's great. Make sure you're living as a good Muslim, but don't try to take over the school board. Don't try to take over when the garbage is taken out. Don't tell people that they bring pork into your community, you're going to throw a stone at them. I mean, you can't do that. There's not enough people in the Muslim community telling them to do that. It's actually the opposite of bigotry. It's basically saying religious bigotry cannot be codified into the law, and that's really what it is.
Yeah, yeah. The one meme I shared about it, trying to generate votes, was about save your puppies, Texas, because they hate dogs and they want to ban dogs in places like New York City as pets. Anyway, it's just incompatible with America and the American culture and everything to do with it. Well, we got a question over in the audience. Oh, and we got to give Steve Bannon and Frank Gaffney, the guys at the War Room on RAV, and Frank's organization, bansharia.com. For getting this vote out, man. It's tremendous because it was only just shy of 10% turnout total on the Republican primary side. So let's take this question from Liz in the audience, and I think she's in Texas.
No, I'm not in Texas, I'm in Virginia. But thank you, Colonel. And Jake, good to see you. I'm curious to get your take on, with this going on, all this stuff going on in Iran, how is it affecting other countries like the United States, like Great Britain, and Spain and other countries where a lot of these young Muslim or young Iranian men went when they left their country?
I mean, people like us have been warning Europe for years that this massive migration of Muslim migrants from these countries where they're really literally importing people who hate them and hate their culture would cripple them politically. They'd end up in a situation where they would be worried about rioting. The coverage of rioting, every time it happens in France, the headline is French youth. No, it's not youth. It's your Muslim migrants who are setting the cars on fire and doing things like that. And they don't assimilate into the population. They don't become even acculturated. And the whole thing is hopeless. And they become completely, and this is something that, for those of us who've been following the Middle East story for a long time, are quite used to. Because before the migrants, we had the oil. When Israel started to get betrayed by you would think, its political and cultural friends in Europe, it was because of oil. They didn't have a migrant problem back in the 70s or in the 60s when they started to abandon Israel. It was they were worried that the Arab countries, as they did, would jack up the price of oil, embargo the oil, and they would be blamed when the people of Paris and the people of London went to get their cars filled up. So it's the same thing now, except it's not about oil that they're worried about. It's worried about the migrants that they need for votes, or the migrants that they need just to keep the peace, to keep them quiet, that if they overtly support Israel or don't castigate Israel enough, they're going to get riots. And in a place like Spain and a place like England and France, where the non-migrant populations have negative birth rates, this has become an untenable situation, an existential threat. Europe is irrelevant now, and their culture is in a lot of trouble because they're going to, I mean, just like the Taliban destroyed those Hindu, I think it was Hindu or Buddhist very artifacts, they're going to go after the Mona Lisa. They're going to go after these kinds of things. This is really, really serious, and they're going to learn that they waited too long to stand up to this kind of what they imported into their country, which is hostile communities.
That's why you see the Prime Minister of England talking like he's the Premier of Iran instead of the Prime Minister of England. It's unbelievable what's happening, and that's why the Ban Sharia efforts focused on Texas. I know New York City's been taken over by Mamdani and his crowd, an Islamist Marxist, but Texas is under bigger threat. They've already have at least two that I know of, Sharia courts at the municipal level that are shadow courts to the judicial system in Northwest Dallas area, and it's got to be stopped, man. Do you think the reason the Democrats haven't seized it has something to do with they know it's a loser issue? I mean, because people do not think Islam belongs in the United States of America. As much as I have Muslim friends and everything that are sane and don't want to bring this stuff in and take over the country, but most people that are adherents to Islam follow their guidance, which is to go to places that we're not, that the infidel inhabits, and take it over. That's why they change churches into mosques everywhere and those kind of things. Do you think, from a political perspective, the Dems just recognize it as a loser, even though they're a lot wacky these days than they used to be?
Yeah, I wish that were the answer, because then I think that I can deal with the common sense stuff, but there have been so many issues that the Democrats have decided to support that are also loser issues. The boys and the girls locker rooms. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, announcing yesterday or the day before that New York's going to go ahead with allowing surgeries and drug treatments for children, minors, for transgender stuff. They've decided to die on a lot of loser hills lately. And so I don't think that if that's the reason that they're not doing this, I need further explanation. Probably the money is not there. The answer to that is that the money is not there for that, and maybe it will be at some point. But the money probably isn't in there to support a pro-Sharia court type of movement in this country.
Well, I'm going to move to the Senate race in Texas. On the GOP side, there's going to be a runoff between Paxton and Cornyn. Cornyn is hated by the base. He's hated by President Trump's base. But President Trump is making noises like he said he's going to endorse one of them and expects the other one to drop from the race. What do you think that will do if he picks Cornyn? What will be the impact?
We have breaking news. We have breaking news to tell you about just now in the last hour. Ken Paxton, or 2 hours or so, Ken Paxton has, I think, done an incredibly brilliant gambit. He's announced that if John Cornyn will agree to promote and get that Save America Act passed in the Senate, that he will consider, his words, he'll basically drop out of the runoff. Now, this is brilliant, because you know what? Cornyn's not going to do it. Cornyn won't take that branch. He won't take that opportunity. He's too enmeshed in his own issues. He hasn't done it already. He's not going to do it now. And this gives Ken Paxton an automatic focus on the best issue for him in this election, that 80-90% of the Republicans want this passed, maybe more than 90%. And he immediately now makes this the central issue. And everywhere he goes, he can say, I was willing to drop out if he would just do this. And he won't do it, America. He won't do it, brilliant. Texas. It's a brilliant gambit, because I don't think Cornyn's going to do it. I really don't.
He won't do it. He won't do it. I guarantee it. I'd be very shocked if he did. He's a politician. And Paxton, he may be a politician, but he puts America first. And he just did that with that brilliant strategy. Well, Jake, we got to go. I will be in the after space on X. Jake, you're welcome to join us. Next Monday, we'll have L. Todd Wood, CDM Press, talking about Iran, the war, and how we are winning and why. We'll see you then.
Welcome to Live Up to Freedom, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today on this Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. A very soft, rainy day here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I don't know where you're at, but I hope your day is going well. We are live on worldviewtube.com, WorldViewTube X and Rumble channel, and also WorldViewTube app, which is available for free on your app store. And all you need to do is look for it, download it, turn on your notification, and you'll never miss any special coverage or breaking news like we've been doing for last 5 days. We're also live on X America News on X and live on my platforms on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, X, and Substack. During the conversation, I will be looking at your comments. Help me with the show today. I didn't do any prep. On the other hand, I figured I don't need to do prep because I'm reporting around the clock, so my head is already prepared. But I did not send in any B-rolls or footages, forgive me. And before I get into the show, first of all, let me thank you, all of you, every single one of you, those of you who are joining the stream, those of you who are sharing all the reports, commenting, engaging, praying. I appreciate every single one of you. And I would like to say that I think I have officially reached the bottom of this candle. I know it seems like it's been 5 days, but for some of us, it has been 9 weeks. From December 27th until today, I've been at it. I was looking at my Facebook page and I was looking and I was like, just getting through one day of post on my Facebook takes about a good 10 minutes. And I am not complaining. I feel very honored, very blessed that I have the capability to do what I do, but I do need to take a moment. I have physically, emotionally, mentally, it's all just coming down, crashing, and we can't have that. So, most certainly next week, unless something very major happens, even more major than the war, I will most likely have all the days on a rerun of this week. As you know, I have my event. My first book signing is Saturday, March 14th. So half of the week I'll be traveling on the road, do the event, travel back. And I also have my normal job that I'm handling. So I hope you understand. I hope you don't forget about everything that's going on and continue supporting my efforts here next week. Tomorrow I won't be able to do a show, but Friday I will do my show. I will also be sitting in for Brannon House on Friday night for Brannon House Live. So I'll see you again this week. But I just wanted to put this out, especially if I'm not as high energetic as I should be today. I'm not sad. I'm not discouraged. I am just exhausted. But I will keep smiling as much as I remember to smile, and we'll get through the day today with some updates. Appreciate your understanding. Just a reminder, first, a thank you for all the orders that came in since yesterday's show. I am very grateful for your orders on the signed copy of my book, the paperback signed copies. They are continue sending them in. We still have about 40 of them left for the month of March, as I mentioned before, and on my release that we have a limited inventory for each month. As you can understand, I need to put in capital into receiving the copies. So we still have about 40 left for month of March. After that, any order comes in are not going to be going out until April. You can go to my website, liveuptofreedom.com. liveuptofreedom.com. You see the cover of the book on the homepage. You click on it. There's a button where you can order your signed copies. I appreciate your support. And the March 21st is still the release for those outside of America who want to grab a copy from Amazon. March 21st is the day. Let's dive right into, before I look at your comments here in a minute, there are a few updates that are very important, or I should say, let me counter a few hypes, misinformation, disinformation, whatever we want to phrase them. Number one, this is not going to be a never-ending war. It's not even possible for it to be never-ending. If you look at the first 5 days, and even if you just look at my reporting, with evidence attached to every report, either a picture or a video, Israel and US are pretty much about a good 70% there. Remember, I have the tangible understanding of what is inside Iran, numbers and buildings, and the amazing achievement. There isn't much left of them. The next round will be targeting individuals. Most of the infrastructure is gone. And when I say gone, they're gone. I have posted so many videos on my Substack, on my X account, and on my Facebook, the 3 places I'm reporting. There is nothing left of those places. Nothing. So for everybody who's so worried about the Truth Social post by President Trump yesterday saying we have unlimited ammunition and this can go forever, he wasn't hinting at a never-ending war in Iran. He was informing that for anybody who's worried we're going to run out of ammunition or weapons or soldiers, we're in good shape. That's what he said. So stop spreading the fear of never-ending war in Middle East again. I have already extensively covered the whole point of Iran's not going to turn into Iraq or Afghanistan, so I'm not going to even go there. But addressing the post by President Trump, he wasn't stating this is a never-ending. It's not even, as I said, it is not possible. And you look at it, I titled the show today, Iran is trying so hard to expand this war. But if you pay attention, it's not expanding. Iran's shooting at every neighbor. Every neighbor is talking tough, but they haven't gotten involved yet. Saudi Arabia keeps talking. Qatar keeps talking. Bahrain keeps talking. Yes, UK got involved. Late night our time. There was the British Air Forces intercepting drones, protecting Jordan mainly, and parts of Qatar. But the goal of the IRGC is to try to expand and buy time. They're not getting involved. I know why the Gulf states aren't getting involved. Don't take that as anything except that they always play both sides. They're always giving a possibility of who's next in Iran. They're not going to jeopardize their neighboring status with Iran, which we should take a big lesson from it. The fact that Israel and U.S. military are the only ones on the line of fire should tell us everything we need to know about giving a Qatari base to Qatar government here in America. All of that can be expanded into a book of its own. But bottom line is, and I'm not saying this because the target is Iran. I'm saying this as you know, I'm even proud of myself for handling this so unbiased and not emotionally for 9 weeks. The facts are right there in front of us. This is not going to be a never-ending war. This is not, even I know there was a report from our end, U.S. end, of it might be 8 weeks. I still don't even think that's going to be the case. If it's the case, then it's the case. But I don't really think we're going to expand beyond the 4 weeks originally that Israel said it's going to be a 4 weeks process. I don't think it's going to be longer than that. So let's everybody take a deep breath. As those of you who have followed me for a long time, you know I have always been, let's not get involved voice in America. However, today we're involved. So instead of trying to bash our military, instead of trying to be the Debbie Downer and the negative voice behind it, why don't you hold your breath, say a prayer, pray for success, and wait it out. In 5 days, you cannot label a war a never-ending war. Okay? It's been 5 days. So everybody out there who's freaking out, they're just showing that they're not journalists, they're not reporters, they're not anchors, they're just looking for opportunity for more clicks. In 5 days, nobody, even in Iraq, we couldn't call it a never-ending war in day 5. And I want to remind everybody, circumstances of anything in life, not just war, not just politics, not just policies, circumstances are very different. We have seen people who survived cancer, and then we have seen people who died of flu. So to compare one circumstance with the other one and expect or manifest the same outcome is ridiculous. So that's my very first, I wanted to get that before possibly going off air for longer than a day. I wanted to say, calm down. Give it a moment and look at the result. Look at the result. In 5 days, what has been achieved and what are we looking on the other side, the enemy side, the IRGC and Islamic regime of Iran. Those circumstances should tell you that anyone who's talking negative about the circumstances today is not working based on facts and evidence. They're working based on their own assumptions and their own wishes or their own opportunity. That's number one. Number two, I kind of hinted at it. Let's take note of all of these Gulf states who are standing by, cheering us while they're just talking tough. That is an important note to be taken because this victory is amazing. It's glorious. Praise Lord. But within every victory, there are notes and lessons to be learned. And these lessons are important in the future of America. Though the focus right now is on the future of Iran, and you know it is very close to it is my heart. It's not close to it is my heart, the future of Iran. But so is future of America. And taking notes today of proper action versus proper talks inside the region is important. Do remember who's backing who's supporting who's putting their money where their mouth is. These are the little tiny things normally in chaos most people don't pay attention to. But I guess being a survivor, I have learned to pay attention to what nobody else pays attention to. I was asked again, why are you not reporting on this and that? I said, if everybody else is reporting that topic, why should I report on it? It is already coming out. Now, when they report extensively on something that is wrong or incorrect, I will report the correct version of it. Otherwise, I'm going to pay attention to what nobody's talking about. For example, nobody has come out and say more than 80% of besieged buildings are gone. That is a very important fact. Besiege is what does the crackdowns. Basij is the department that killed Iranians on the streets. Not yesterday, not last week, not 9 weeks ago, for the last 47 years. So when you take out almost 80% of their headquarters and buildings and facilities, you have crippled them. Basij is done. That is an important fact to be mentioned. That is an important fact to be reported on. So let's take note of our allies in the region. Not the words, not the prime minister said this and the foreign minister said that and the sheikh of this place said that. No, the actual tangible actions that are being taken or the expectations. They hit your base in my country. It's your job to protect my country expectations. Pay very close attention to all of that. And if you can't find those reports anywhere else, that's all right. You can find them on my platforms. I'm on air maybe an hour, 2 hours on Saturday, about 5 hours. But the rest of the time, I am posting in video format, text format, or picture format, or sometimes all of the above, on my Facebook, on my Substack, and on my X account. You will see, you will take notes. So later, after midterm, when there are renewals coming up with our allies, you can have a voice, a legit factual voice behind who should stay ally or be considered ally or not. With that, we're going to go take our first ad break to hear from one of my allies. We'll be right back.
Life is too short to spend a single moment spinning in laundry worries. Take a load off your mind with the all-new Norwex Powerzyme laundry detergent. This natural detergent harnesses the power of enzymes and plant-based surfactants to leave fabrics fresh and clean without fillers, brighteners, synthetic fragrances, bleach, or harsh chemicals. So go ahead, have your cake and eat it too. More than ever, stressful stains have met their match. Powerzyme's fast-acting enzymes break down organic substances while natural surfactants loosen locked-in dirt and oil, removing residue, stains, and odors with ease. With 91% bio-based ingredients, this dermatologist-tested hypoallergenic formula is suitable for sensitive skin types and delivers a safe and effective clean that won't harm you or the planet's waterways. Less time spent worrying about laundry means you can focus on what truly matters. Norwex Powerzyme Laundry Detergent. Discover the power of nature and load up on confidence.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with me until now. Let me tell you an interesting sales pitch story about Norwex. So Thursday, day before war broke, I had all of my windows in my house and doors replaced. So they showed up and they replaced all the windows, the doors, and all of that. And one of the people who was with the team was standing and cleaning up all the windows and the frames and all of that. So I step up, I gave her one of my window cloth from Norwex, and she just looked at me. I sprayed a little bit of water. I started wiping. She just looked at me like, how? I was like, it's magic, I know. And she was like, can I buy some? I don't have any inventory on hand, but I gave her a link. So apparently now Norwex, the window company is going to order Norwex window cloth for after installation cleaning, which was interesting. So yeah, if you like to make less work while getting the best cleaning in your house, Norwex is your product. Same thing with their hygiene and skincare and pet care kits department. CyrusWellness.com is where you can get pretty amazing products, save yourself time, money, and give yourself a healthy household while supporting me financially. As I have said, and I will always be transparent, I receive a percentage of your purchase as a commission as one of the consultants at Norwex. Let's head over to the comment section. Hi, Lori. Good to see you. Hello, Annalise. Good to see you as well. Hi, Cherie. Annalise says, you never need prep. I know. I almost feel like I never, well, when I say prep is when I send my rundown to Thomas in control room is my prep time, for example, few clips, couple of images, maybe a Substack, something that's what it is. I know when you breathe eat, sleep, disinformation, prep has no meaning. Make some time for river rafting or rock climbing. There is nothing more refreshing to the mind as physical exertion in God's creation. That is very true. But I won't be able to do rock climbing. There were few things in my life that I had to pick that side or my side of keeping my nails as weapons. And one of the things was rock climbing. So was putting down the guitar, because you don't get to play guitar with these nails. However, river rafting does sound good. I don't think I'm going to necessarily take a couple of days to do anything outside of resting, eating proper meal. And as I just told you, day before this all happened, I had all my windows and doors replaced. And if you would see behind this camera, just right here in this office, it's a war zone, literally, because we had to move a lot of furniture, take all the blinds and curtains down. A lot of it has now been back up. I very loosely put all the soundproofing and blackouts on the windows here, but I need to fix everything, especially again, I'll be traveling next week. So it's not going to be necessarily resting. It's going to be catching up with the other side of life while I will continue reporting, guys. But yeah, I'm going to take some of the getting ready time and being on air to fix up the war zone inside my house. Oh, thank you, Lori. Lori says you did such a fabulous job hosting Brennan House live last night. I appreciate that. I had a blast. Now, of course, with great guests always help do a better job. I was very honored to do that. Do you think, Annie, do you think it would be a good idea for Iranian people to let Trump know they do not want MEK or anyone but Pahlavi, maybe letters to the White House, etc.? Or would that be useless? That's a great question. Let me go to the next update, and then within that, I will answer your question. The other update is, as I called it a long time ago, looks like we being United States of America, might try to have a good push for MEK as a replacement. I also covered it on my show yesterday about Mousavi going into that. Now, those of you who may not have heard, looks like the decision has come down to our military arming and training the Kurds of Iran to get involved with the fight. Now, Kurds, we hear the word Kurds, but there are different sects. There are the Sunni Kurds. There are the what I call the atheist Kurds. There are the patriot Kurds. They're different groups. And I want to know which group are we going to arm? The group that has ties to MEK? That back in the time, there was a name of their group called Komole, which were the resistance. And when they pretty much, they couldn't survive like MEK. A lot of them joined MEK's cause. So is that the Kurds we're going to try to arm inside Iran, and why? The question is, who's even advising President Trump? Whomever is advising President Trump on this decision is again doing a side-by-side comparison of Iraq and Syria. You know how in Syria Kurds have been slaughtered, though they helped us plenty, but we let them be slaughtered. Is that the reason we're targeting Kurds in Iran? Because they're not the majority. They are the minority. Nothing against that. Turks are minority too. Baluch are also minority. But the question is, why are we not picking a coalition between Fars, Turks, Baluchis, Arabs, Kurds, all of them? Why not? Why are we specifically going for the Kurds to be armed? That is a big red flag for people like me who know exactly how this could come back to bite us. I said it on radio on radio with Brannon and Aaron today. For now, I'm putting the liberation of Iranian people on a back burner because the movement from our government doesn't seem to be the proper movement or the claim of we're going to let them pick their own government. That is not the case. Yesterday, President Trump said something of we could have the popular, moderate, modern from inside. Today, we're arming Kurds. This is all aligning with what I was concerned with. This is all aligning with why from day one I said I'd rather U.S. play no role in liberating Iranians. But again, it's one of those times of we shall wait and see. To answer your question, Lori, you really think not enough of us have written? Enough of us have written, we have done petitions, we have done videos, we have done signatures, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Today, IDF did, one of the generals of IDF did say that they were scheduling this attack for mid-2026. However, the revolution and uprising by Iranian people played a huge role of speeding it up or pushing it early because they hurt the people of Iran. But seems like, well, Israel is closer. I guess they are neighbors, so they could hear the Iranian people. But U.S. has not hurt the Iranian people yet, which is okay. Oh. Lori says, we know who has Trump's ear. Giuliani is one of them. Giuliani is one of them, but it has gone beyond the point of Giuliani. I kept asking everyone. I said, boycott, boycott. You know, Giuliani's been on their payroll for almost 2 decades now. But when Newsmax started supporting him days after the uprising, when Matt Gaetz started having them on his show on OANN, neither Newsmax nor OANN was boycotted by American conservative Christian audience. And then you had them gradually make their way up to Fox News. Today, Blaze TV put out an article saying that the Free Iran should start with women in charge, with a picture of Mayim Rajavi, the leader of MEK. This is way past the point of Giuliani. 2 months ago, when we started sounding the alarm on MEK, maybe we could gain some momentum if we had more people back us up, stand by us, boycott, write to their favorite outlets and tell them maybe we could, get a result. But today, it's a little past that point. And I want to be very clear. I was asked this off air. If MEK is pushed on Iran, there are many of us Iranians outside of Iran who will be going back to fight MEK. There is no chance for MEK to gain momentum inside Iran. And as Brannon said, the sad moment will be if the Iranians are left with no choice but to fight our soldiers, U.S. soldiers, inside Iran to keep the freedom that supposedly was given to them by the same military. That will be a sad moment. Hi, Pookie. Good to see you. Hi, Kendall. Good to see you as well on YouTube. Texas is going down. I need help. And Rapture ready. Texas is, it's, how do I phrase it? Texas is not going down. Texas is conquered. It's not being conquered. Texas has been conquered. Again, I spent 9 months of my life in Texas, Dallas. And when I was getting out, like when I moved out on my way out of Dallas, I remember I made one last stop. I looked around and said, it is so sad that you're conquered. Texas is conquered. But no conquered land is impossible to take back. The question is how much Texans are willing to put their money where their mouth is. Let me plug my book, not for the purpose of plugging, but in my book, The Architecture of Jihad, there is, my brain is too fried, so let me actually look at the table of content to tell you which chapter it is. It is, yes, on civilization jihad, lawfare jihad, and betrayal jihad. Those are the 3 chapters. Chapters 7, 8, and 10 of the book. I gave you steps, step by step, at the end of each chapter, for each one of them, which is these 3 jihads are, by the way, what Texas is facing. These 3 forms of jihad is what Texas is facing. Of course, the betrayal jihad, every place is facing it. But these 3 are what Texas is suffering from. And at the end of each chapter, I have a section called, it is called, what is it called? I don't know. Practical countermeasures, where I have bullet points of practical countermeasures for citizens, not government, not police, not FBI, for citizens to take those steps and apply them and take their city, zip code, city, state back, end of it, the country back. So, though I'm brain fried today, I can say one of the reasons I feel extremely blessed is I with this book out, I can at least say over a decade of on-air interviews, Substack writing article, but now there's one place where you can get all of it if you're willing to get it, buy it, read it, and apply those steps, right? On the intro of the book, I did mention that this isn't just a book. It's an actual guideline. Each chapter by itself can help a lot. It's the root of it. You can legally argue this conversation now. I've given legal roots, doctrine roots, historical roots, all of it, to modern day, as early as a year ago, practices in our courtrooms, in our schools, in our stores. So, excuse me, yes, Texas is conquered, but you can take it back. There's plenty help in just that one book. liveuptofreedom.com is actually where you can get your advanced copy, or by March 21st on Amazon. There's so much we can do. Pookie's asking, what about Thursday night? I know Brandon will be off Thursday and Friday. I do believe Sharon Hadian will be sitting in on Thursday for Brandon, and then I will be sitting in Friday. So tune in, don't miss it. Hope you get some well-deserved rest, and you definitely look better on the TV than... Oh, Caleb, thank you. We love you, Brandon. It's the makeup. Not that I'm advising Brandon should wear makeup. That came out so off. Guys, I need to take my next ad break. Let's go ahead and take the next ad break. When we come back, I'll continue on your comments. Don't go anywhere.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, for at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with me until now. Another way to support me financially, of course, is pick up my art pieces, handmade right here in America. All products used, also US made, at lutfstudio.com. Use promo code MISSION for extra, I think, 10% discount. Thank you, Jerry. You're very kind. Caleb says, do you think we will be sending troops in anytime soon? I don't. Again, well, okay. First of all, if we're doing the Kurds situation, there won't even be a need until the second round of civil war between Iranians and MK. If we're not, again, I don't even see why we would need troops or boots on the ground. After transitional government, yes, which is normal for that, but I don't see needing any need for that, to be honest, unless we're absolutely overkilling. And I don't mean literally, or maybe I do. So, no, I don't see us going in. I don't see us needing to go in. Amen, Pookie. According to the Bible, there will never be peace until Yeshua hits Mountain Zion. Well, tell that to all the members of the Board of the Peace, right? They have produced peace. Remember? Have you heard anything about the Epstein files in Tehran, or is that just people trying to make things up? Definitely people trying to make things up. No disrespect to the atrocity of Epstein files and the shameless cover up by the government of all kinds. But right now, in Iran, in Tehran, in Esfahan, in Tabriz, the only news is, when is this over? Can we come on the streets? Can we take the country? Where do you take cover? That's literally the concept. Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate your prayer. I do need all of them. Again, I am fine. I'm inside. I'm still fired up, but my poor body is like, let's slow it down a little bit. Oh, thank you, Pookie. I appreciate it. I'm so glad to hear that you guys were happy. I think Brandon was happy with the show last night, but I'm glad you guys enjoyed it as well. Okay, let me try to sit straight a little. I feel like I'm leaning forward too much, a little too much. Trump already knows Brandon and Logan. They interviewed him at Mar-a-Lago. What would it take for Brandon to somehow be allowed to get to Trump? He would have to bypass the main gatekeeper, Susie Willis. Well, Annalise, that is true. Yes, Brandon and Logan were at Mar-a-Lago doing the interview. However, let's go back to something that I've been saying, and later, of course, Alex Jones confirmed. This isn't about getting to Trump. This is about Trump willingness to hear you. He is not willing to hear. First of all, may Lord forgive me as for I'm about to judge. Without taking all the credits of what's going on in Iran, Trump was already an arrogant president. Today, there is no talking to Trump anymore. There just isn't. Listen to his news conference at the Oval Office yesterday. You hear it. It's like 10 times worse. When a man is consumed by his own ego to a point of, as I said it on Brown House Live yesterday on my show, I've been trying to keep the narrative fair and square. When you take away all the credit of everybody else and you just crown yourself the guy who did it all, and the difference, again, Bibi is in the front line. Our president isn't. I guess it's just a difference of operation in countries. But when you're consumed by your own ego and you see yourself as the victorious man who did it all, I have not heard not once in any of these 5 days for Trump to say, praise Lord something. It's all him. I did it. I did it. I did it. I did it. This man is not going to hear me or Brandon or Logan or anybody else for that matter. He won't. And that is a general concern that I have had from mid-2024 until today. I actually had someone interesting said a few days ago that now Trump delivered on his promise. I hope your issues with Trump is resolved. It's okay. We all make mistakes at times. I responded with, what issues? Be more specific. Because again, first of all, I know how this is started. Trump didn't deliver on his promise. Bibi did. Yes, we're backing Israel. We're fully involved now, but Israel did it. So I could sit here and argue that Trump didn't deliver on his promise. He didn't. Now, even if he did, somebody else replied on my behalf. So if you have a neighbor who broke your mailbox and threw a stone through your window and tried to set your house on fire and then brought you food when your loved one died, do you forgive the rest of it? No. No. My issues with Trump on allowing the Islamization of America stands the same way they were before this war. I don't mix and match things. One of the reasons I survived was I have the capability to keep things separated. I've been told that I even process my emotion through my brain. So even if we say this was Trump, which it wasn't, even if we say it was Trump who liberated Iran, I will always say remember, go back, watch me on Brannon House live around 14th or 15th of January when I said, with or without him, Brannon, I worry not because I know Lord is watching after my people. That's not going to change. Now, if I'm going to give one individual man on earth as a tool that Lord used to liberate my people, that will be Netanyahu. Now, for any reason, for sake of just being around, my arm is twisted. I'm like, okay, fine, it was Trump. I will say, thank you. Thank you for helping my people liberate themselves. But what about America? Don't mix and match things. No, I don't. I'm different. I don't do that. Yes, President Trump probably flipped a lot of Iranian votes in America with this attack. Not mine. Not mine. I am still an independent, neither a Republican nor a Democrat, and I still believe they're both feed from the same bank account. I will change my mind. I will change my vote the moment I witness that actually ICE is deporting the illegals. I will do that when I watch FBI investigating and picking up the known terrorist jihadists in America. I will change my vote and my attitude the moment I see Trump administration is cutting all ties, including military bases, to Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Qatar, and the rest of them. Until such time, Iran is Iran, America is America. And believe it or not, my whole adulthood, I have fought for both countries. And believe it or not, that's possible. I just showed you it's possible. I can criticize Trump when it comes to America and America's safety. And that will not change until I see a change of behavior. See, most humans, especially those who have never faced trauma, the attitude is one act to my favor, you're my ally. One act against me, you're my enemy. In my case, I watch your pattern of behavior. One act does not change my mind one way or another. I watch for pattern of behavior. And when I have the pattern configured, then I'll decide if you're my ally or you're my enemy. I should have stopped being way too into philosophy. Okay, Lori says, you're right, Inez. The government could have stopped Islamization long ago. Instead, they rolled out the red carpet, literally. Exactly. Hey, Martin, good to see you. Trump allowing his mRNA vaccine to kill Americans right here in American soil. Yes, and I think, didn't we spend like one of the first acts in the office was the budget? What was it? I might misquote this one. 50 billion or so. No, I'm sorry. $500 million budget for the mRNA cancer vaccines. Remember the one that's going to be specifically set for your genetics? Yeah, I remember that. I got good memory. Amen, Annalise. God raises kings and brings them down for his purpose, but he is sovereign over all. Amen. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, when I watch these, thank you, Trump, Trump, I'm like, I mean, at least I hope in private you're saying, thank you, Jesus. We all prayed. Thank you, Dawn. It's good to see you. Okay, let's head over to the other platforms. I'm trying to be fair because I tend to be a little not fair. Kristen, my handle on X is Live Up to Freedom. So on X and Instagram, my handles Live Up to Freedom. On a Substack is also Live Up to Freedom. The only place that's my full name, I know Zanny Cyrus, is Facebook, mainly because when I started this, I started small on Facebook using my name, and then other platforms came later. I need to make sure I don't miss my last ad break here. The Brits and the Americans dictates how the world is run, said Bat. They have been for a long time, a very long time. Lord willing, at some point, one of the books will be about that. You look at Middle East and Central Asia, the evidence is right there. Anne Rapture says, I'm also concerned about Colorado Golden Star mother in prison. I hear she's not in good health. You're talking about Tina. I heard this morning that there is consideration. I think the governor is looking into releasing her, actually. So let's keep praying that that is true and the governor does go forward with releasing Tina Peters in Colorado. Yes, it would be a fantastic day for that to happen. She should have never been put in prison, but she's not in great health either. Guys, let's go take our last ad break. When we come back, we're going to address some more comments, some more updates, and close the show. Be right back.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I normally try to do this on my last segment. If I started speaking Farsi, just don't mind me. We actually talked about it on the radio today. I just told you earlier today, Newsmax, ONN, Voice of America is, I think, the other one, VOA. No, what is the Bannon channel? Whatever channel it is, Steve Bannon channel. Fox News, Blaze, all of them. Selling out to MEK and all of that. But you know, the one network that didn't? Not just to MEK, the one network that never bended the narrative to radicals versus moderate, never bended the narrative to our allies could be Islam, this, lone wolf. Yeah, all of that was Worldview Tube. The network you're watching us, most of you are watching on us. Worldview Tube has never bended. Brannon House has never pulled the plug on us. Those of us who are controversial. By affiliation, your company can be targeted when you work with people like me, let alone giving them a microphone, let alone giving them their own show and pay for all the bandwidth and the servers and the producers and all of that. Brannon House stood by us. He has always said,